And so I'm interested, I think it would be really important for the audience to hear what were the people surrounding you saying, whether your parents, teammates, coaches, as you start to experience more concussions throughout your sport?
So the ones in 2008, I obviously knew of concussions because of my 2003 experience, but I didn't tell anyone of my first one that I got at this national camp. It was the end of January.
And why was that?
It was the first night of training. It was a big camp. There were probably about 6 keepers there, and it was a silly mistake on my part. I got tripped up and my head hit the ground, and I got up and I was dizzy, but I was tied for first in the goalkeeper game we were playing, and I was not about to stop playing in that situation. And kept playing, and then that Wednesday came along, and it was a breakaway. My body hit the ground, but my head didn't, but I thought I was going to faint and become sick, and I asked the trainer for Tylenol, and then there was an interrogation. She found out that I hid my symptoms, and so after that event, I went to the concussion clinic in Broomfield, Colorado, and they explained second impact syndrome and the dangers of playing after you've been hit without proper recovery. But I had another event a week and a half later, and so I said my headache was fine, and I continued to play through those two. And then I always came back too early, and I think that's what eventually got me. I'd get hit, and I would have a headache, but I thought it was normal to have a headache for 3 to 5 months following that injury. And so my teammates would be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I feel great," even though I had a headache, because that was what seemed normal to me, and I could still function. But after the 6th one, that's when I started to notice some cognitive changes, but I just kept everything to myself. The stakes were too high being recruited.
I think Molly and I both had similar experiences as goalkeepers. You're the leader on the field, and you're not going to take yourself out because your team is counting on you. So I think a lot of what you said rings true with me. But my experience was a little different. I had 3 concussions in the span of 15 months, and after my 3rd one, it wasn't as severe as my other ones, but the symptoms lasted much longer. And I was meeting with doctors and neuropsychologists, and they all were saying that I was kind of in this gray area of, well, maybe you could keep playing, maybe you shouldn't. So what I ended up doing is saying, all right, I'm going to take 8 months to try and recover. So I redshirted my junior season and said, at the end of the season, I will return to this question of, should I keep playing? And 4 or 5 months in, I started to do more soccer-specific stuff, and I really just didn't feel right. Cognitively and emotionally, I was fine, but when I started diving for balls, and even just kind of the eye-tracking stuff of watching the ball come in at me, it didn't feel normal. It didn't feel like I should, and I started to realize that if I were to go back out on the field, I wouldn't be able to play like I used to. I wouldn't be able to put my face in front of the ball to make a save. So that was kind of in my head, and I had a lot of people kind of in my academic life that were saying, "Anna, you have this academic career ahead of you. I'm planning on going to medical school." And so that sort of pull of my future as a professional, as a physician, really kind of ended up making my decision fairly easy for me. I was the one that had the choice. I didn't have a doctor saying, "You absolutely have to stop." They said it was my decision, and I ultimately decided that protecting my brain was the right thing for me to do.
Now, Clint, you've taken issue with ESPN, and after your forced retirement, they made a statement that you had quit, and you made a pretty bold rebuttal to that. Talk to us about when you hear the term quit, when it relates to a forced retirement from the game, what kind of emotion does that evoke for you? And
a lot of anger, man. I was pissed. I don't know if that's bad to say. I was pissed.
It's Texas. It's Austin.
As you should be.
Sorry.
We're good. You're on a college campus.
I remember I said it, and then we're at the bowl game, and then someone's like, "Hey, you're on." So we turned it on. It was like, "Clint Trick quits from football." I was like, "What? I didn't say that word one time when the whole interview." But that's media. They're going to say what they want to say. But still, the word "quit" never came out of my mouth. And I knew I wanted to coach anyways, so that's when I made the choice, to stop playing football. And like I said, having that next step definitely helps, and especially since I'm still dealing with football, I'm still a part of the game. I still miss the competitive nature. Every now and then I'm out there with my players, and I want to throw it, but I'm the coach, and so I got to deal with that. And There's other aspects you can do in life to get that competitive nature out of you. I know, what are you doing, decathlon? Yeah, so there's other things you can do to use that competitive nature. But yeah, definitely never once said the word quit.
Quitting, Spencer?
Yeah, I don't like that whole term. Like, it just rubs me wrong. I mean, you're not quitting something, you're retiring like from the game in which you were so passionate and you invested your whole life in. So I mean, I think quitting is just like a gross word. I just don't. It doesn't sit well with, I don't think, any of us.
I wrote a nice email to ESPN after that. Definitely can't repeat that one here. So.
I mean, in regards to concussions, in high school, my parents and we didn't really know like the symptoms or anything. So like in the state championship game my senior year, I knew instantly, like I got hit on the sidelines and I knew there was something wrong. And then my trainer's like, "You all right?" And I was like getting up slow and I'm like, "Just let me play." But it was because it was a state game, so it was the last half, I believe, too. So I finished out that game, but then I kind of understood what the symptoms were. So as time progressed, I got another one my freshman year in college, but I was coming back weekly. Like it only took a week for my symptoms. Then after that, I was able to kind of go back into the routine. But it really hit me my 5th concussion. Like I was just like super emotional. I was joking with them, telling them that like I stepped on, it was either a worm or a snail, and like walking to class, and I don't know why, but I just started crying. I was so emotional that I killed that snail. And like I was like, what is going on?
So
My
was
friends
the snail?
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, my friend's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, dude, I have no idea. So that was when I like first started to noticing it. And then on my last one, I just couldn't tell like what was a dream state versus like reality. And that one that was 2 weeks after my 5th one. So I was getting concussions more easily, and I was just becoming more prone. So that's kind of when I seeked help and like saw a neurologist and talked and consulted with them. And they're like, well, you got to think about your future and everything. And I told them like kind of like my moral standards, like I want to have a family when I grow up. I want to be able to remember my kids' names and stuff. And like you only get one brain in life. It's not something you get surgery on. So that was one of my leading roles into like hanging it up and like retiring from the game. But in long terms, it was the best decision I've made, because for me personally, like I've been able to embrace each day like to its fullest. I know it's cliche and everything, but like it's just the little things. Like after retiring, people were reaching out to me and like just telling me stories of the times we shared like within sports, on and off the field, and it just made me appreciate the little things in life more. And now I don't know, I've been happy. I'm happy that like I'm able to still function properly and stuff. So it's been good.